If you want to be a motion graphics artist or a motion designer, then this is probably a good video for you to watch. Just saying. It can be really daunting when you're first starting out and you go online and there are all these really cool, impressive looking tutorials and all this information. But there's also a lot of stuff that people don't really talk about that you do actually need to know as a motion designer. It's not really advisable to just start doing random tutorials all willy-nilly with no sort of structure or purpose behind them, because there will be vital gaps in your knowledge that you just won't have, especially if you want to do this professionally. The creative industry, especially the digital realm, is a lot more accessible now than it was even just a few years ago. With the internet, people can do jobs for individuals or companies that are literally continents away. And motion graphics or anything really in the digital realm is a really great career choice right now. And you don't even need qualifications or a degree to do it. So let's get into it. I'm just going to go through these tips basically in the order that you should follow them. So tip 1 is pretty much the first thing you should be doing on your journey to becoming a motion graphics designer. Tip 1 is, if you can't attend an institution or do an online course or anything structured like that, then rather than just randomly searching for motion graphics tutorials, sit down and compile a course for yourself. Doing an already prepared and accredited course that's been done by industry professionals where you'll get feedback and assignments is of course more advisable, but if you can't do it, it's okay. You just need to make your own little course for yourself, because otherwise you're just going to be running around like a headless chicken, doing random exercises from random places, and you're just going to miss out on some really foundational stuff. The amount of things you need to learn to be a professional level motion graphics designer can be quite overwhelming, so you will need that structure to follow so that you can keep everything flowing nicely and make sure that you're learning the basics before you move on to the more heavy stuff, so that when you are eventually working in the industry, you'll be able to take a brief and execute anything that your client asks of you. So you'll need to learn about design first and foremost, because that is the backbone of any good motion graphics. That's why you're called a motion graphics designer, because it all centers around the design. And if you don't have strong design, it's gonna look like a piece of crap. Sorry, but it's true. So go ahead and compile a list of resources, tutorials, exercises that you can follow that are going to teach you the standard practices of good, solid design. Of course, there are a ton of YouTube channels out there that can teach you great stuff about design. There are websites, and books are really great because they will give you that structure and exercises as well for you to follow, and I've linked to a few in the description below if you want to go and check those out. You'll need to be able to create a strong composition and know about design elements such as line, form, color, texture, mass, and space, and design principles such as alignment, balance, contrast, proximity, and repetition. Part of this section of your learning will be how to use Photoshop and Illustrator, because they are the industry standards for design. There are free alternatives, of course, that you can use while you're just starting out and practicing and getting a handle on everything and just learning how to do good design, but it is advisable later when you do start looking at actually going into the workplace to learn Photoshop and Illustrator, because Adobe is the industry standard for motion graphics and design. And if you go and work at a company, you will be expected to know those apps. And if you're freelancing and working by yourself, there will be times when you'll still be expected to work with a team or send open files of something, and they will be expected to be in Photoshop or Illustrator. So you will probably, once you start freelancing, need to put aside a bit of your income towards getting a Creative Cloud subscription, or if you do work at a company, they'll probably give you your own subscription on your work computer. But it is something you need to think about. So it is advisable, if you are able, to get used to using Photoshop and Illustrator. The next thing you want to do is go and learn the 12 principles of animation. A lot of the time, people actually underestimate how important this is in motion graphics design, because they think it only applies to like animated characters. But in reality, motion graphics design is still animation, and anything that applies to good animation applies to good motion graphics design, because it's still stuff in motion that is really going to take your stuff to the next level. The 12 principles is really important with anything that is in motion. I've spoken about the 12 principles a lot in my other videos, and I'm going to make some videos further down the line teaching you guys about them. But in the meantime, there are tons of other resources out there for you to take a look at, so just go ahead and do that. Do exercises on each one and make sure that you really understand them well, because they are going to give you a solid foundation for your motion graphics work. After that, you can go and look at doing basic motion graphics tutorials and exercises. When I say basic, I mean basic. And just exercise what you've learned with your strong design principles and your great 12 animation principles, and just marry them together and make some really simple but awesome looking motion graphic stuff. So that's tip 2. Keep it simple and to the basics. I know that it's super tempting to just jump into the really flashy looking but more technically difficult stuff, but honestly, the backbone of any good motion graphics is the simple stuff, because you take that and you take your solid knowledge and all that really so-called basic stuff, and you build the more impressive and flashy techniques on top of that. That's what makes them look great in the end. It's because you know the basics and you have a really solid foundation, and that's what you actually build off of. So you need to make sure that you know that stuff really well before you go into the more difficult things. Rather start out with a really slick looking lower third, or design a logo and create a top and tail for an imaginary show, or you can take an excerpt of some audio from one of your favorite movies and just do like a 30-second to a minute of kinetic typography on top of that audio. Those are some really good exercises to start off with. That's what I did in college, and it really just helps you to understand all the basics and principles first before you get into the more flashy stuff. Learn about keyframing and timing, how to use the graph editor and work with motion paths, as well as masking and using mats. These are the things you'll use the most in commercial motion graphics work, and it is the basis of anything you'll be making move. You'll be doing these exercises in After Effects, which is the most commonly used motion graphics software. Tip 3 is don't get involved with plugins and scripts just yet. While they are infinitely useful and very powerful, and they do speed up your workflows, you do need to learn how to execute things yourselves before you go and depend on scripts and plugins. You need to have a good understanding of the program and its capabilities and the way things work, so that once you do start using scripts and plugins, you'll be able to understand how they work, and if there are any issues, you'll be able to troubleshoot them, and then you'll be able to use them properly. You should never find yourself completely dependent on external things like scripts and plugins, because if something happens for whatever reason, like they're not compatible with the latest update of your software or something, and then you're not able to complete your job because you just actually don't know how to do the thing without those scripts or those plugins, you'll be really screwed. So it is better to just learn how to do that stuff yourself beforehand, and then later on to speed up your workflows and help yourself out, then you can use them. But right now, as a beginner, don't be tempted. Tip 4, reverse engineer other people's files. Once you've gotten used to the program and you know how it basically works, it can be really useful to go and download other people's files and see how they did things. That's why with a lot of tutorials, they'll provide you with the project files so that you can complete the tutorial and you can see how they did stuff in the file. You can also go to Envato, the link is in the description, where you can download project files from there and you can see how people set up their effects and what their workflows are like and how they link their comps, and it can be really useful for you to speed up your own workflow and see how to lay things out in a professional way. Tip 5 is practice a lot. Don't just watch tutorials, but practice along with them. It should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. What you can also do is set yourself little briefs, as if you actually have a client giving you a brief, giving you a deadline, and set out to do that brief within that given deadline as professionally and well as possible. The deadline is a really great way to keep yourself on track, because when you're teaching yourself, you don't have classes that you have to attend or assignments that you have to complete. So this is a way of giving yourself that responsibility of doing it and completing it. While you're doing these briefs and these assignments, also try to be very aware of your workflow, try to optimize time wherever possible, and don't bloat your files. This is really important if you ever actually want to be a professional motion graphics designer. Bloated files will be the bane of your existence. Make sure you don't have any unnecessary layers, unnecessary effects, and files brought into your comp, because it's going to slow you down a lot. And if you ever end up working in a sort of team environment, people are going to hate you if your files are bloated. It's also a cool exercise to try and replicate really dope stuff you've seen other people doing. But if you're going to show other people or post it online, make sure you do credit the original creator. So some great learning resources for you are Video Copilot. I think every motion graphics artist professional knows about Andrew Kramer and his Video Copilot tutorials. There's School of Motion, you can check out lynda.com, and of course, YouTube is flooded with free learning resources. So you can stay on the site for a while and check some stuff out. Let me know in the comments if you have any other tips and advice for motion graphics artists just starting out. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you haven't subscribed already, do so if you want to keep up to date with my other videos, and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any others. And thanks for watching. Love ya. Bye!